Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I would like to call to order the Community Redevelopment Agency regular meeting. It is Tuesday, June 12th, and it's 5:30. Call the roll, please.
Chairman James.
Here.
Vice Chairman Harris. Here. Sorry. Board Member Brandemart.
Here.
Board Member Grace.
Here.
Board Member Salvino.
Here.
CRA Director Williams.
Here.
City Attorney Ensborough.
Here.
Thank you.
Citizens' comments. We have one. Would you please state your name and address for the record when you come down? You have 3 minutes. Lauren Ottman.
Is the mic working tonight? Yeah. Lauren Oddman, 85 Gulfstream Road, Dania Beach, 33004. Good evening, Mayor, Chairwoman, Vice Chairwoman, and board members. I'm really excited just to talk about this program that is on the agenda tonight, the at-home Dania Beach. At home at Dania Beach program. I've spoken to a lot of residents about it this week, and it's sort of tied into something that I've spent a lot of time talking to different residents about that was a major concern for them. This idea of gentrification, sort of this catch-all term for the ways in which existing urban development, this model for it is, some people feel, failing poor communities. And I found that when we talk to residents, espousing the idea that myself as someone on the local planning agency, or you as the commission, is there to protect them and to keep them safe from these effects of gentrification. There's often this pushback, like who exactly decides what the problems are and what the solutions are to those problems. And some of the questions like, how do we go about building a city of different neighborhoods where all the residents have equal provision of basic safety and access to opportunity? Or how do you have a city with residents who are, some are poor or some are rich? And how do these different backgrounds all come together and have equal stake in the neighborhood success? And as well as the ability to put down roots and stay as long as they want without fear of being pushed out. And I wish I could tell them that I had all the answers to those questions, but I don't. And I focus on things that I feel nourish the social fabric within our community development area and programs that address solutions. And one of those programs I feel is the one that you are all going to be hearing about tonight. There's a connection to the success or demise of a neighborhood within Dania Beach, and there's stories as to who we are as a community, what do we value, what's important to us. And that's why you hear people come and they speak and they're so passionate about gentrification, they're passionate about land use, they're passionate about fair land use, they're passionate about development, they're passionate about being able to have access to affordable housing. So just to sort of bring these thoughts together, I believe that the program goals of the At-Home Dania Beach program being further discussed this evening will address many of the specific concerns that residents have had and asked for specifically, making neighborhoods more aesthetically pleasing, increasing public safety, and providing opportunities for affordable housing development that includes a range of choices to suit different kinds of families. I hope that the Commission will agree and take action to move forward with the program for At-Home Dania Beach. Thank you.
Thank you. Administrative reports.
Good evening, CRA Board and members of the community. We have listed the Arts and Seafood Celebration, but before we go there, I would really like to thank everyone for their support at the inaugural Dania After Dark Community Street Festival and Art Walk. It was so well attended. Thank you. We had at least 1,000 people that came, even in the rain, and we had so many vendors, so many food trucks. The band was great, and many of you in the audience were there, and many of our board members were able to be there. We have the next one coming up July 14th, and every second Saturday. We really hope that we increase support for this event because it brings community together, it puts Dania Beach on the map, it brings people here, it makes people want to stay here. We actually got word from the Morrison that several people from Dania After Dark went to the Morrison bar to have drinks later. So, you know, it's helping to increase business activity and bring energy and life to the downtown. And we got a lot of compliments on the new logo being on the garage and the new banners out. So people are taking notice, and they really are thankful for the city and the CRA taking steps to bring people together in a fun atmosphere. Okay, so going to our Arts and Seafood Celebration post-event report. As you are aware, we had some overnight rain that impacted the site conditions, but regardless of that, we did have a decent first day at the Arts and Seafood Celebration. We had about 3,000 people attend, and people were dancing in the rain and having a good time and making the best of it, and that's what we decided to do as well, just make the best of the weather situation. You have a spreadsheet here looking at our estimated financials. As you'll notice, last year in 2017, our net operating cost was about $120,000. Our estimate for the event, had it not rained the way that it did, and had we not had to partially cancel on Sunday, we would have looked at a 73% reduction in our net operating cost, bringing us to $31,000. Because of the weather event and because of some added costs, we added about $5,600 in tents, tables, and chairs because of the rain, so that people would have places to take shelter. And because we want to be good neighbors and good partners with our artists and our vendors, we have proposed to do reimbursements for several of our vendors, especially for the artists who have paid an increased cost for the first time in about 5 years this year. And many of them were so happy to hear that we were giving something back to them and that they'd be coming back next year. So due to the weather event, we're looking at a 45% reduction in net operating costs. However, we're still in negotiations over some invoices, and we may actually get closer to 52% reduction in operating costs. So I think we're on track to do better things next year. We're going to take a look at the dates for next year's event, taking a look at how we structure our contracts and how we protect ourselves. So we think that 2019 will be a good year because of the things that we've learned this year. And thanks for your support, even though the event was partially canceled.
Board Member Grace?
I would like to basically add what I thought about the Arts and Seafood Festival. I thought it was terrific. I'm going to be very honest with you. I was one of those people that was out there dancing in the rain, and I'm surprised that I really didn't get a cold. What I really like the fact is that the whole time that I was there, you could not find a parking space because people just didn't leave. They just enjoyed being there. And I can sincerely tell you this, Chairperson, you cannot predict, nor us, how the weather is going to be. I don't care what dates you pick. I admire you and your staff for sticking with it through the first day, because I think that it brought the community, Broward County, and people from Palm Beach County was there, people from Miami. So it brought us together as a community. So I applaud you for that. Don't let anyone ever steal your joy. I mean, because they will. They'll try. But I've learned through the years that whatever will be, que sera, sera. And well, I'm a little French. I'm practicing. I'm going to Italy next year.
Fancy.
So I'm working on it. So I just want you to know that I appreciate the CRA board, the board that sits up here for supporting you, and we did 100%. And now I want to really elaborate a little bit on Dania Beach After Dark. Again, it rained. You have no control over that, okay? but I was really happy with the layout. We might have to, because we had so many food trucks, we might have to spread them out next time because I'm thinking about the fumes, you know. That might be something, because they were all together. So maybe we can put some here and put some there. I like the layout of the tables that you had, where you had the band. I want to caution you because everything that I ate was fattening. The crepes.
By choice. By choice.
Well, I passed by the vegan truck. I don't
Okay.
know why I did that, but the crepes and the seafood, the hamburgers, and the only thing that I think wasn't fattening is the corn on the cob, and I really like that. But right next to that was the funnel cake. So, you know, it's like I cannot pass by the funnel cake to go to the corn without going to the crepes, without going to the seafood, without going to the soul food. But I like the variety of all the vendors that you had, because you had a lot of different vendors there, and I really like that. And I think that this is going to be a showcase for Dania Beach. I truly believe that, and I just can't wait for the next one. Thank you.
I also want to applaud the CRA and the staff that work tirelessly with limited staff. I don't know how you all sleep at night, but the layout, the food, the music, everything about it, it was great. And even though it was showering, people didn't have, only one person had an umbrella. I think that was my mom. But other than that, no one else cared about getting wet. It was just great for the kids, face painting. It was activities for them to do. And there was a lot of unique artists and vendors there that you don't see on a normal day basis, like the pop-up cards and things of that nature. And so I think this will end up being a place where people look forward to going and gathering, the bean bags, the tables, just making it very warm and inviting. I just want to congratulate you all, because you overachieved what I thought that was going to be, and so congratulations on that.
Thank you both for those kind words, and thank you to all the staff that made it possible. And we could do anything without city staff and CRA staff coming together to make it happen. And our inspectors, everyone really just dug in and really tried to make it work, and we're so grateful for that.
Okay. We have the administrative report, so we're now on the Dania Beach.
So in your package, you'll see a flyer for the Dania Beach City Center Developer Focus Group, which we discussed with Florida International University Metropolitan Center. That'll take place July 10th. And that is for developers only, or landowners that would be impacted by city center redevelopment. And we have sent out special invitations for that. This is not something that we are expecting the CRA board to attend, but I just wanted you to be aware of it, because the insights from that meeting will help to guide us as we go forward to the community charrette, which is also in your package. That will take place July 23rd at Gallery of Amazing Things. So everyone is invited to attend. Everyone who would like to talk about redevelopment of our city center, we want to hear your thoughts. We want you to participate. We will have refreshments. It's a free event. Come out and be a part of the community and talk about what you'd like to see in your community. And that's something that the CRA board, as well as members of the public, are invited to attend.
Excuse me, how many people are you expecting approximately?
We are planning for at least 100 people. We're taking RSVPs so that we can estimate how much food we'll need, but I think already we just released this week, and we have about 10 people that have RSVP'd to want to attend. So we think we're going to get a good turnout, especially because it's at such an amazing location, and a lot of people don't get to go in the gallery regularly, so we're excited about it.
Well, I think this is good, but next year, perhaps when we do another one, you might look at doing it in the Atrium at City Hall. I think that will give them a flavor of what we have down here, and you can explain to them about the Dania After Dark and the other things that you're trying to project too. So that will all be good.
Okay, thank you. The developer focus group will be here at City Hall,
Okay.
and then the charrette will be at Gallery of Amazing Things, but thank you. The last thing I wanted to add to the administrative reports is in relationship to the Transportation Alternative Program, or the TAP grant. So back in 2014, the CRA prepared an application for funding from the Broward MPO and FDOT, and the application was submitted through the City Commission. Now, subsequent to that, the CRA and the city submitted an application for a complete streets program, also through the Broward MPO, for Northwest First Avenue and Northwest First Street. Now, what the MPO has said is that the funding for the TAP grant that will impact First Street, they do not want any disruption to those improvements along First Street when we ultimately receive the Complete Streets grant, which we are very likely to receive. So although the Complete Streets project has not yet been awarded, we do strongly feel that we are going to be awarded, and completion of that project is about 8 years down the road. Now, what they have indicated to us is that we will need to remove the First Street improvements from the TAP grant, which is valued at about $125,000, in order to receive the $2 million for the Complete Streets grant. So we think it's a good bet to make this adjustment to the TAP grant so that we can ultimately have a project with a greater impact. So this will be discussed further at the City Commission agenda. I just wanted to bring it to your attention since the CRA is where this grant originated from. Okay. That's it.
Is there a timeline for it?
So we anticipate that the TAP grant will begin construction next fiscal year.
Okay. Begin construction. Okay. Next, we have the consent agenda. Do we have any pulls?
Move the item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Discussion and possible. What's this? Discussion and possible action at home Dania Beach residential revitalization program.
So at our last CRA meeting,
Just one question before you
sorry.
start. Are you going to give residents an opportunity to speak if they want to speak after you finish or before, or you want them to speak now?
that's up to you, Madam Chair.
Do you all want to give residents an opportunity to speak after she goes through this, if they have any questions or comments?
No, you would go down to board members' comments, and if we wanted to.
Because I have another
give some
comment, so I'm
time, then
asking.
we will. Otherwise, we won't.
Okay,
We have another meeting behind this one.
okay. Okay, so we have time. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so at the May CRA board meeting, I did a presentation on the at-home Dania Beach program to inform you of some of the strategies that we can utilize to have residential revitalization within our community redevelopment area neighborhoods. And the program was inclusive of several aspects. And during that presentation, many of you had comments and raised concerns. And even after the presentation, I did speak to many of you about what you'd like to see included or altered in the program. And so what you have before you is really a summary of what I presented and the comments that you made on that day or after the presentation. So the language in the program as of today is inclusive of what I believe to be a consensus of where you all are with the various aspects of the program. And it was asked that it be brought back as a discussion and possible action item. So that is why we have it here today.
Do we have any discussion?
Rachel, if you can go through the program goals and actually program components briefly.
Okay, so our program goals include 5 areas: the removal of slum and blighted conditions, creating CRA area beautification, facilitating new developments and redevelopment projects, attracting private investment in the CRA area, and fostering neighborhood pride. The program components include beautification, which includes the painting of homes and/or landscaping, acquisition and disposition of properties. So the CRA area has lots of vacant properties. We currently have a deed of 6 vacant parcels, and we want to then do development on those parcels or dispose of. Our recommendation for disposal of properties in the CRA is for the Neighbors First and/or pocket parks, which was brought up at the last meeting. The development of the 6 parcels that we own would be for affordable housing development, single-family homes in particular. Then we have the 4th component, which is home ownership, actually helping people get into those homes through down payment assistance and doing a home buyer education course. And then we have a housing trust fund, which would provide us with a mechanism to fund affordable housing or residential beautification projects in the future. So giving us a source of revenue from which to pull to do some of these same types of projects year after year.
Board Member Grace?
After we had the last CRA meeting, we talked about you reaching out possibly to some of the banking institutes. Has that been done, or because we have to educate people how to clean up their credits and really qualify and give them programs that will
Give them a chance.
be able to help them keep the homes once they buy them?
Yes, so I've had preliminary discussions with 3 housing counseling agencies that operate in Broward County, and they provide financial education, home buyer education training. If this program is approved, we would engage with 1 or more of them to provide that training and education. And we also talked about having courses for existing homeowners, so helping them know how to keep their homes, maintain their homes, and not fall victim to some of the predatory types of lenders and agencies that take advantage of people that currently own their homes.
I see people here that weren't here last time, so I know that they don't understand in full what we're discussing. Is there a way that you can briefly go through a short, not the entire presentation, but just to let them know about what the cost would be for the homes, what the city would be responsible for, or what we're trying to give from the city and what's expected from them in their homes?
Sure. So one of the components is beautification, and what we'd like to do on an annual basis, but just starting with the next fiscal year, is to do about 20 homes per year where we provide a grant for painting and or landscaping, up to $2,500 for homeowners. But because we also have a large portion of homes that are being rented, we'd like to offer this program to non-homesteaded properties as well, but at a lower amount, $1,500. And then Commissioner Salvino, you asked the last time that we have folks contribute to it. So for those properties that are not homesteaded, that are rental properties, we would ask the owners to commit to $500 toward the project. We also talked about preserving the block. So for the 6 homes that we are proposing to do single-family housing on, we would like to ensure that the neighbors of those homes are not negatively impacted and that their homes look just as beautiful as the new home. So we are proposing to do 12 homes that will receive painting as well, so that the new homes blend in a little bit more and the older homes, don't look like they haven't had any upgrades recently. So we're looking at doing 12 homes under Preserve the Block. Then we're talking about down payment assistance, up to $10,000 per eligible buyer that qualifies for the program. And so because we have 6 parcels, we're looking at $60,000, so $10,000 per household. We also will need to utilize about $5,000 for the home buyer education course to have one in Dania Beach, because that's part of the problem. We don't have those courses available in Dania Beach. They're at neighboring cities, and that often prevents people from taking advantage of those opportunities to learn. Then we also would like to have some funding for real estate services for folks to do the transactions and for legal and attorney fees. So we're looking at $10,000 for that, for a total investment of about $155,000. We're looking at a potential return on our investment. Once we sell the homes, we will be able to take in about $213,000. And what we can do is reinvest those dollars, because there's several other parcels, vacant parcels in the CRA that are causing those slum and blighted conditions. So every time we have a piece of land that doesn't have a building on it, that's where people congregate, that's where trash is thrown. So we really want to make the best use of the vacant land in the CRA. So we'd like to reinvest those funds and continue this program. Once the homes are on the tax rolls, the city of Dania Beach would take in about $5,000 for those first 6. If we're able to acquire more properties, it would just go up from there.
Another question. You said $10,000, but I want, for clarification, it'll be a total of $40,000 for each homeowner with different sources, correct?
Right. So from the Dania Beach CRA, we are looking for $60,000 of commitment for down payment assistance. We've talked to Broward County's housing division, and they have said that because we're a small city and a non-entitlement city, that the folks in our program would be able to qualify for $20,000 of down payment assistance through their program. If necessary, and if the homeowner would not be able to come up with any additional funds, we could also take a look at community development block grant funds that are awarded to the city of Dania Beach, but that would need to be discussed with city administration and the city commission to see if that would be desired. But at this time, we're looking at $60,000 from the Dania Beach CRA.
And could you briefly go over the eligibility requirements for this program and how we are going to choose?
Sure. So on page 13 of the package, we list the eligibility requirements, and the first one is that you must currently reside in the Dania Beach CRA area. Those applicants would be given first priority. Then after talks with Commissioner Brandemarty, she asked that there be some preference for first responders that currently live in the city of Dania Beach but would like to be homeowners. So I had listed that there's a second priority for discussion.
No,
No,
that's the
That's-
Oasis.
that's not
Okay.
your project. That's
No.
Commissioner Grace's,
That's the Oasis Smiths.
yes.
Okay.
And also, there was a big stipulation with that, and that is if they did, this is what I'm going for, just to let you know. If it was given at a decent price to a first responder, it's going to be with the understanding that he can't flip it or move out of it for 7 years.
But
You're
it
not
would
going
be
to
the
get
same.
like something.
It
to
would be
help
the
'em.
same. I think any of the projects, depending, regardless of what entity is running it, with whatever stipulations we're putting with this, it follows it.
Good, very good.
So it'll be the same. It'll be protected. So we were
So-
not giving.
But that's with,
Okay, so we can
This
scratch
project.
that priority level from the eligibility criteria, if that's
Okay.
what's agreed. Okay.
Commissioner Salvino's light is on. Board Member Salvino.
Just Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me all right? You know, some of the problems that, and it's not anything opposed to what we're doing here, but some of the requests from, I've got my lights.
It's not loud.
Hello, can you hear?
Okay, now we can.
Some of the residents have asked some questions about the funding that we're doing in the beautification area that are outside the CRA, such as areas on Southeast, inside the few houses that are in, Southwest, the houses that are in, on US 1, that are the older houses that are there, down into, right up onto Sheridan Street area with, you know, around the tracks, and then on the other side, that's not in the CRA district. And they're wondering if we're going to be giving money away for beautification, is there going to be a program open for everybody to be able to have this money? And I know it's opening a can of worms up, but the residents of Dania that pay the taxes that the CRA is dispersing, they want to know about themselves as well.
Okay. So, of course, the area within the CRA's jurisdiction or boundaries is what the focus of this program is on. And if there are calls for beautification beyond the CRA boundaries, I think it would be up to the city commission and the city manager to see if there would be a similar program that would be developed.
I understand, and I knew that the answer was going to be. I'm just letting you know that there may be some controversy on this when we start giving away this money, that other people that are not in the CRA district would like to beautify their house in a paint job or some landscape as well. And I think that we as the board need to be careful on this. That's all.
Oh, you want to answer?
I just, your point is well taken, and you know, part of what created the CRA is a finding of necessity, which was done back in the early 2000s, and it identified areas in the city that were slum and blighted areas that needed revitalization. And I think the purpose of the beautification program is to help those neighborhoods to become more aesthetically pleasing, to increase investment so that people will, you know, want to move into those areas and, you know, take pride in those areas and keep it up. And your point is well taken.
How do we expand the CRA area then?
The CRA area was already expanded, and I think any further expansion of it would really consume the entire city. It's already almost 40% of the city.
We'll talk about that later then. Thank you.
Board Member Brandon Marty.
Yeah. You know, to me, it seems like the CRA and the board is going all in directions of homes, homes, homes. But I think that the board, the CRA, when it was first established, I'm not too sure. I got to ask our attorney. It was mostly really for the downtown area too, and we haven't even addressed the downtown area. We're getting into the real estate business.
Well, that's what the original boundaries were. But still.
That's right. It was the downtown area. I don't care how you fix the houses. If the downtown area is going to look like it is, your improvements must be evenly distributed. And that's how it originally was started. Not in the housing business, but to make a difference in the downtown area.
So part of how we're addressing the downtown is through the facade grants that we do. Since 2011, we've given about $520,000 for businesses in the downtown area. In addition, the community charrette that we are about to embark upon will help to guide us in redeveloping and establishing our downtown. So we propose that after this charrette, we're going to have a framework so that we can move forward with development in our city center and really encourage additional development. We have lots of landowners who want to know what the city is doing, and the CRA is leading the way in that effort to see how we can increase development in the city center.
Board Member Grace.
Before you, Rachel, Jeremy and Rachel was before you. And of course, we talked about the downtown walkway and the upgrades that we're going to do. So I think we've been talking about it for about 9 years now. So we really need to kind of push that a little bit because we have major hotels on Dania Beach Boulevard. We're going to Federal Highway. We're going to be doing some more projects where the Winners Trailer Home and also where Antonio's, all of that's going to be upgraded. So the walkscape that we're talking about is going to be similar to what they've done in Deerfield. And so I think that is the avenue that we want to go. However, the beautification of the homes, we gave you that project. We gave you those six lots to build those homes. And at the same time, we ask you, if you build a home next to a house that was not up to par, that we would do that at the same time. So I'm still on page with that. I am. Now, I have to ask the city attorney, because on the city commissioner agenda is the Oasis project that's coming up. So there has to be some ordinance or something in place to make sure that when some of us are still not on this commission, that whoever is on this commission still honor keeping those homes in the Oasis and project. So how would we do that, Tom?
Again, we'll have a brief discussion at the commission, so it's on the same minutes.
Okay.
But I think you're talking about the Smith's grocery store and then the other property that the manager acquired with the commission's direction. So there's a number of lots that are being assembled with the hope to build two higher end, upper scale homes, and to ensure that future commissions do that. Once you are gone, for example, in November, you could do a deed restriction. Let's say that, for example, it would require a unanimous consent of the commission to do something other than what was called the third element of that Oasis project. That was what it was called. It was so it'd be
Yeah, it's going to be on. It's on the agenda for. I want it to be transparent since it was brought up.
But he
about
said
those homes.
before you leave, we can do a deed restriction. We can do the deed restriction now.
Yes.
anytime before she
Right,
leaves.
no,
That's the point.
that's not on the next one. You still gonna have to come back and do a deed restriction, am I correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what
Yeah,
I'm
I
saying,
got
you
you.
need to do that.
Okay.
We
But-
can be
but if I
working
give-
on it now.
If I'm given that direction as a consensus, I would come back with a proposed restriction. We'll wordsmith it the way you want it to be, so it ensures that the properties were intended to, they were acquired for that purpose, and now you want to guarantee that it stays for that purpose,
Right.
and not some other purpose that wasn't intended.
Board Member Brenda Marty?
City Attorney, I believe we had a discussion this week, and I asked you to prepare a document with wordings to cover this. Is that done, and is it going to be at the commission meeting? That's what I'm confused on.
No, I spoke to Ms. Grace about it, and I wanted to make sure that all 5 of you would be on board with it, because if anybody is not, it won't work. It has to be a deed restriction that we talked about that all 5 would agree to place on these properties. And if anybody was not with it, it won't work. So it's easy enough to do, and I can have it by the next meeting on the 26th.
Good.
Okay.
So let me ask a question. Does anyone have an issue with it?
With those 3 lots being in the 2 to build,
The Oasis.
Yeah, because we need a consensus from everyone.
There's a lot that we own already.
3 lots.
Yes.
Correct.
I have no problem with that.
No.
You have a problem? Okay, so it's unanimous.
Sounds good. Aye.
Because you're not going to do anything without it if you don't make the change. You got to change it, or it's not going to be buildable.
Well, yeah, he just wants to make sure before he comes back that we had a consensus of everyone. Okay?
Yes, all in favor.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. All right. So no other discussion. Also, possible action. Do we need a motion to approve
Yes, I'm
this
asking.
at-home Dania Beach?
I'm asking that the CRA board adopt the at-home Dania Beach residential revitalization program and enable me to move forward with making the elements of this program a reality.
Move the item.
We have a
Second.
call the roll, please.
Board Member Brandemart,
Yes.
Board Member Grace,
Yes.
Board Member Salvino,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Harris, Chairman James.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, then the next item for discussion and possible action is the West Dania Beach Boulevard Railway, oh goodness, crossing improvements.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This discussion item surrounds the CRA wanting to move forward with assessing and planning for improvements on West Dania Beach Boulevard at the railway crossing. At any point during the day, and I just did this the other day, I stood out there for 10 minutes, you can see members of the community crossing over the railroad tracks with strollers, with wheelchairs, with small children. And you can see cars that when they approach the crossing, they have to take special care to go over the tracks because of how steep it is when you're crossing over. And many members of the public are nodding because I'm sure they experience it day to day. Not only is the functionality of the railway crossing in question, but the look and feel of the railway crossing in terms of the way that you enter a neighborhood, the way that you feel when you enter and exit. It shouldn't be such an abrupt difference, both in your car and visually. You should be able to go from one neighborhood to another and it not feel like, there's this big divide. And, that's something that affects a lot of eastern cities. And Dania Beach has a few railway crossings. There's one at First Street just north. But as there are projects being planned for First Street already, I wanted to take a look at West Dania Beach Boulevard because from now until about 2045, there is no plan through the MPO or any other agency to do a project of that kind. So we do have some streetscape funding in the CRA budget, and I'd like to engage with an engineering firm under our continuing services contract to look at ways that we can improve the railway crossing. And if you look in your agenda, we have some images there which provide like a rough sketch. On the first image, you'll see that there are arrows pointing to the lack of sidewalks along 4th Avenue and between the railway track and 3rd Avenue. If you go to the second image, it lists the proposed improvements. So it would be raising the road profile to create a smoother ride over the railroad track and improve the sight distance, as well as enhanced landscaping and sidewalk improvements to provide safety and continuity. And on the third image, you'll see a rendering of what those improvements to the road would look like, as well as on the fourth image at the top, you'll see an intersection up in Fort Lauderdale that already has the sidewalks that we're thinking to put in place, as well as they've already raised the road there. So we think that it's a project that is worthy of consideration, considering the fact that so many people cross over the tracks at Dania Beach Boulevard, and we think that it would have value in the CRA area.
Board Member Salvino?
You know, we're going across that road right now with the why didn't we do it with them and have the developer take care of it while they're running the sewer system through there? That Dania Beach Boulevard could have been done now. Did we miss something there?
So a project of this
They're
scope.
tearing that up now, though. I mean, they're literally tearing it up. We can't do that while they're out there doing it. I mean, it has to be planned out.
I'm not sure if it was in their contract. I wasn't here.
Yeah, but
It
we
wasn't in their contract?
No, but we could have probably put it in their contract.
Is it too late to put it in their contract? I don't know. He asked questions. I can't
It
answer
just
them.
seems like it would have been I mean, they're tearing it up. They might as well fix it right.
Mark LaFerriere, Community Development. Well, you remember the work that's being constructed out on Dania Beach Boulevard is the sewer line for Dania Point. So that's sort of an unrelated item. It's a different type of work completely. They're going to actually tunnel under portions of the railroad tracks, and it's not going to be much work above grade. And it's two different agencies that would be doing the work, the FEC versus a private developer. I don't think we would have been able to coordinate it in time.
Okay.
So,
I just thought we'd ask.
yeah, it was a good idea, but I don't think it would have worked out.
Okay, thank you.
Is there one more thing? Is there any other ways that we can get FEC to pay for this, or is this something, I mean, in a hurry, or?
So what,
You might recall, Commissioner, and the board, that her predecessor, Rachel, had proposed a grant or something from FEC.
Right.
It was $180,000 just to do the engineering for that road in First. And and you need that engineering to be done by FEC engineers. They won't let us use our own, and that was an impediment. So I've spoken to you about this before, I think, but I'll bring it up again just in case. Fines are accruing on this Proul rebar thing. Right now, they're over $300,000 that FEC will owe the city once Proul will move, and they are preparing to move. It seems it's taking forever, as we all. I'm getting pictures from code magistrate people to show, but they are. The building is being built up in Fort Lauderdale to move this operation out of here. Meanwhile, the fines are hitting at $250 a day. They just hit $300,000, and since the commission no longer looks at abatement hearings, so you won't be able to come to you for an abatement. It'll be a fine. It'll go to the magistrate for a recommendation. But if you request the magistrate to consider, I don't want an abatement on that, and I want the FEC to pay for that. That's an option to get some of these things done.
So the FEC will have to pay for it, and not
the FEC is currently the landlord for Proul.
That's right.
It's a subsidiary, not the FEC. It's called FECR, but it's the same company, basically.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
And that money is there,
Okay.
whether you end up working out something for them or not, but that's a source of possible funding.
So what we're proposing to do is to coordinate with the FEC to make sure that whatever design and work that we do on our right-of-way would work with whatever they propose to do at a future date. So we want to coordinate the design process so that when they come in and if we go through this mechanism that Tom is describing to get the work done, that whatever we've put in place will be in alignment with what the FEC requires and what they'd want to do on their right-of-way.
I still have questions. I have questions for you, so you can hold on one second. But Board Member Grace?
Now, if I heard you correctly, we do have funding. Okay, do you think it will be enough, or?
So we have about $108,000 for streetscapes, and the engineering estimate says that it will be 120. So if we do a portion this year and next fiscal year, we'll have enough funds to cover the project.
I can't tell who else's light is on. We need a new one, a parliamentarian. Who else's light is on? Mine. Your light is on? I think it's someone in it with a 0. I don't know. Vice Chair?
Sorry. This plan just came out last Friday, and I don't think I talked to you about it yet, but it involves that property for Pure Lux. And once the FEC vacates that, or the company vacates that property, there could potentially be options there for a Brightline station, mixed-use housing, and maybe some retail along the railroad tracks, much like they did in Oakland Park and other cities north. I mean, that was just one of the options. And as far as the transportation needs, I think eventually what they're going to do is relocate the tri-rail to the eastern portion of the tracks, or an additional tri-rail, so then we'll have the transportation options for
right
the
here?
Brightline, for the Brightline and for the tri-rail, and which will eventually probably maybe become the coastal link. So that way, anybody that lives, within walking distance will have access to transportation, and you'll be able to jump on the train and go all the way to Orlando.
It's a very small space for a tri-rail station, no? It's very linear.
If you think about, it's narrow, but it's long. Isn't that right? It goes from
No, it is long.
to the feed store, basically.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's just in the initial talking stages from last Friday with the MPO. I don't have the minutes from the meeting yet, but it was an option that we maybe could think about. Transportation, getting people, out of their cars and into public transportation is what the MPO is all about. So, something to think about.
My hope is that this project will address some of the safety concerns that we are presently having. So as we see people go back and forth across the tracks, it would be nice to have sidewalks available for them, so that they're not walking on jagged surfaces. And I think that it would improve the aesthetics of the neighborhood.
My question for you, Mark, is will will Northwest First Street be addressed with the streetscape plan as far as the railroad tracks? Because we're only speaking about Dania Beach Boulevard, correct?
Yes, the C-SLIP application that Raquel talked about earlier, that we think we stand a really good chance of securing that grant for about $2 million, does include a pedestrian-friendly crossing for the railroad tracks on First Street.
Okay, okay, thank you. That was my question for you. My question, maybe it's for you as well. Now, while we're talking about these neighborhoods and these improvements, I know that this neighborhood is probably one of the only neighborhoods, because I've walked while I was campaigning the entire Dania Beach. We don't have those, the signage for the area or the location. I know I addressed this with you maybe a year or so ago. Where does the funding from that, where does the funding come in for something like that? Like you see Avon Isles, you see College Gardens, you see all these other things. I don't even know what the area is called on the record over here, because we have,
Sun Gardens, Owls.
I mean, you have Bird Point, you have Sun Garden, you have.
It should be Bird Point, Sun Gardens, Owl.
So, is there any money in community development?
Well, I don't know
Because y'all
about
have a
community
lot of money
development,
over there.
but I mean, I think that's all part of your budget and approval process. And just a little bit of research that we've done about where these signs came from. There's been a conglomeration of funding. Sometimes the city paid for them, sometimes homeowners associations did, sometimes community groups did. And I know that in the past we've talked about some with the CRA board and with the CRA staff, some signage for the neighborhoods, and I know that's something that Raquel's been looking at, so that's why I kind of turned to her a couple times during that question.
So at tonight's City Commission meeting, there will be an agenda item talking about signage, production and replacement. In addition to what you're discussing here, we want the signage company to take a look at all those neighborhood signs in the area to see if we can have a cohesive look to those signs that reflect the entryways to those neighborhoods, because everybody does a little something different. We also should take a look at who has the license to use the City of Dania Beach logo, because some of these private associations, I'm not sure that they got the correct permissions to use the city logo for their signage. So we would need to take a look at that as well. But that is being anticipated in the rebranding initiative budget.
And also, could you include the areas that don't have any signage at all?
That's correct. We're going to do an assessment, so not just replacement of what is there, but an evaluation of what needs to be there. So, for example, on this City Hall site, we don't currently have a sign that says City Hall, but that would be included in the new rebranding initiative when we redo the signage.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So, do you need a motion for this as well? Oh, we were just speaking about the railroad crossing improvements. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, my feelings are we shouldn't do anything with it at all right now. I think we should wait until they're finished and then blend in with whatever they're doing. Otherwise, you're just throwing money, good money, away. I understand what you're getting at, but there also was a discussion about an arm that, you know how the railroad tracks have their arms? Someone was even discussing at one time about an arm that goes up where the people walk over it, because they say the cars are going around and then going around it. There's been so many discussions on that.
So the FEC would be primarily responsible for the design and the funding for those arms. And what we're proposing here is to start with a plan. I think that it needs to be addressed. And I think if you took a look at the site and if you stood there for 15 minutes and just watched people go and come, that it would be pertinent that we address this as fast as we can, because it's a safety issue, really.
Okay. So, are you looking for a motion to start a plan? So what are the next steps after?
I don't think she needs a motion for that, just to give her the go-ahead to do it. We're not going to be spending any money at this time. She's just going to be doing the preliminary actions on it.
If we were to engage with a engineering firm to develop a plan, that would be about $15,000. And so anything going after that, I would have to come back to the CRA board. We couldn't contract with a firm to do the roadway project without coming back to the CRA board. So this is just getting consensus that you think this issue should be addressed and that we can go forward with developing a plan to do so. And we do have the funding available.
So do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we this is for $15,000 for the engineering consultant. Yes.
Do we have a second?
Discussion?
Oh, discussion. Board Member Salvino?
Yeah, thank you. You know, I'm all for the crossing. There's not a problem with that. The funding is an issue only because I think that what Tom had said a minute ago about the GPRU moving out and the FEC owing us $300,000 in assessment fines, I don't know why we would spend that money when we can utilize that as leverage to have them take care of it and not be any money out of our pocket. I think that we've been without it that long. I mean, and I know he's going to be out of there in the next few months. He's supposed to be out by the end of the year. In the process, why don't we ask, maybe table this for one meeting and see if we can get FEC to make a commitment that if we allow them, instead of assessing them all the fines, if they would be willing to do the crossing on an exchange for the abatement.
I withdraw my motion.
I don't blame you, that's a good one.
Is that,
It's a
is that
trade-off.
possible?
I think, again, Raquel's asking just for a preliminary review of the sidewalk things. $15,000 is probably merited for what she's talking about. The other part is, I mean, you have to be careful that FEC will not rely on anything in their crossing area if it's not done by their engineers.
That's
So you're talking about leading up to and away from.
Correct. I'm talking
So
about
she's
the
talking about the
city-owned
approaches to
areas.
it,
Yeah.
which is, that's
So
fine to do
because-
tonight.
Right, because if we even get the engineering done, they may not even let us do the job, right?
True.
And
So I'm
any,
just I mean, can we just table it just for a little bit, and then we can pursue a little harder instead of spending the $15,000 at this time?
my question then would be to the city attorney about the timeline for approaching FEC and what that looks like.
We have discussed with them, I've warned them that this was going to be an issue that would be coming forward, but it's not going to be something that they're ready to do until Prul, which is what this thing is called, I think if I say it right, is left, which again, like Mr. Salvino, I think I November, they are supposed to be gone. They're always slow, it's taken forever.
All right,
But
so
we've
November
seen the
could be
progress,
3
they are
years.
making progress to leave. But I want to point out, by the way, is that they're then planning to put a new type of tenant in there, run by Prul, that does prefabricated doors. They don't have any desire, from what I can understand, to do anything to accommodate any kind of transit oriented.
Well, even if they don't do the transit, at least they can do the
They still have to
crossing.
do something before we'd allow a new
Right.
use in there.
I'm lost at this moment. I'm not sure if we are just, we're not talking about what the FEC is responsible for. We're talking about what's on the city's property. Am I correct?
That's correct.
So we don't want to improve. You know what? I saw someone get hit by a train and their leg was severed right here outside of City Hall, and I had to go run across the street to the fire station in order to get help. I mean, I see people go with their motorized wheelchairs all the time and almost fall from going down this steep hump. I see people tear their cars up. I see little kids walking. It is a safety issue. I totally agree. It is a safety issue. I'm not in favor for us footing the entire bill, but as far as us doing some improvements to that area, I'm okay with that. And so, I mean, I'm not. She understands our concerns, and I'm sure. Are you going to take that into consideration? But to wait all the way to November, and November is not promised, because when I first sat in this seat, it was told to me that they were moving then. That was in 2016. It is now 2018. 2 years later, they have not moved. It's still a safety concern. Brightline is killing people. If you have not noticed, if you have not watched the news, that's a very dangerous train. These are very dangerous train tracks. And right now, if you don't realize, there are a lot of different communication errors with these arms and everything. And we have our kids that commute to to school, to the neighborhoods, to City Hall, our people, and it's unsafe. So I know we have further discussion. Board Member Grace withdrew her motion.
I'm going to rescind it now. Motion to approve for Rachel to
Raquel.
spend the $15,000 to consult an engineer and see where we come from here.
Do we have a second? We have a second. Call the roll, please.
I have a
Call
discussion there, Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we discussed.
I'm a little confused. When you said you were confused, now I'm confused.
Okay.
So what you're telling me is that we can do the engineering design, and we can put a sidewalk across the railroad tracks.
No, it's not going to cost
So
railroad.
what are we approving?
This is preliminary work for the approach to the crossing, where the gates close. That's FEC right away.
Right.
We cannot mess with any of that.
So what is?
So she's
I
proposing.
thought they were doing a walkway.
This is
extra guardrail for the.
This is the part that's outside the corridor of the easement for the FEC. So the part that goes up to the railroad and leaves the railroad on the other side, that's what she's talking about. Then later on, you have to do the crossing.
And any work that would be done as far as engineering planning, we would consult with the FEC to make sure that once they came in, our plans would match. The problem is, even though the FEC hasn't done their crosswalk arm, people are still crossing the tracks. That is the main problem.
I think I understand what
We-
and I'm all for that, but I just think that we're taking a little spending money again before we get the information correct.
Tom,
Whatever the board wants.
Tom, call the roll, please.
Board Member Brandemart,
No.
Board Member Grace,
Yes?
Board Member Salvino,
No.
Vice Chairman Harris, Chairman James.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-2.
Board member comments. Board Member Salvino.
I'm good, thank you.
Board Member Grace.
Nothing?
Board Member Brandemarty.
I had lunch today down at Hollywood, and I saw something that I thought was a good thing, and I think we passed it here. It's the straws. They're no longer allowed over there unless they're made this way, and no plastic. Didn't we pass this here?
For the bags at Publix, that's what we
For
did.
only the bags, and on it says environmentally friendly, and they're, I don't know what they're made out of, but all I know is it lasted through my iced tea with no problem. But I think it's wonderful. It's hard paper, and if ever the day comes, we should adopt something like this.
They taste weird.
How do you know?
I haven't tried them.
He said he ate it. It tastes weird. I didn't taste anything. You're weird. Okay, that's all. Nothing else. Thank you.
Vice Chair. No comments?
No comment.
All right. You said what? But we already passed. I don't know. Do you guys want to allow someone else to speak? Board? Hello? What y'all doing? Are we focused here? What's going on? Y'all playing with straws and
We're
stuff?
playing with the straws.
About what?
I'm using mine as a dot.
We have another,
Another meeting.
3 minutes.
no, we have,
3 minutes, that's it.
They said 3 minutes.
Oh.
Okay. Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Commissioner, for allowing me the opportunity to come before you. My name is Herbert Goldwire, and I live at 180 East Dania Beach Boulevard, Dania, Florida, 33004. I'm a native of Dania City, grew up in this town. And I just also want to make a comment about gentrification, because it's one of the things that I'm not sure if you all know, but it's on my platform. And I just want to say, I spoke to many residents in the city, northeast,
Can you speak in the mic,
northeast, south, and the west, and everybody has this anxiety with all, or a lot of people rather, have anxiety about all the development that's going on in the city, and they want to know what's going to happen to them at the end of the day. And so what I've told them, if I'm fortunate enough, I would like to be a voice for them, to let people know what their concerns are. Now, we know, I'm not sure if all of you know what the term gentrification, means or experience with that. But
Oh. Board Member Grace,
yes, but oh,
she's ringing her bell. Sorry.
I don't want to interrupt, but I have to interrupt. Because if anybody up here does not know what the meaning of it is, then they don't really need to be up here. And I know that everybody up here knows what it means. We've watched what happened in Liberty City. We watched what happened in Overtown. We watched what happened in Miami Gardens. And I can sincerely tell you that the eyes and the ears of the residents of the city of Dania Beach are definitely with these 5 people that represent the city.
okay, not to disrespect you, but I did meet with a few of you privately, and I can assure you that there was a member who was not familiar with the term gentrification.
Well, it wasn't me. Let's put that on the record.
Well, I would say they were.
It was not me. We're gonna put that on the. You got it on the record.
So
Tom?
I'm very, and that made me very concerned, and it kind of sent up red flags with me. And I'm like, well, hey, if they're sitting on the commission and they don't know what the term gentrification is,
Who was it?
then I'm not gonna call any names.
Oh, okay.
I would just say, but it's somebody I met with. You know who you are, and we had a private meeting. And like I said, I would never put nobody under the bus, but that's why I'm saying what I'm saying. So I need to know that you all are on board because the residents have voiced to me that, you know, they have concerns about their support system staying intact. Will the church, you know, if 52% of the residents in the city are renters, what's going to happen with all the renovation projects when it's to come in? We know that's going to drive up the cost of everything. Taxes will go up. The cost of living will go up. And rents will go up, and if 52% of the people living in this city are renters, by God, what would that? How much displacement can take place from that if gentrification happens? And right now, it looks like with all this development, this $1 billion that's being spent on Dania Point, that could be an issue that arise. That may be an issue. I'm not saying it will be. I'm for renovation. I'm for development, but common sense development. Development that won't displace our residents. Development that's going to give us, you know, development that's going to be good for the residents. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I would just like to add, I wish you were here 8 years ago before Dania Point came, because those were concerns. Those have been concerns for the two individuals that spoke this evening about gentrification. I definitely know what gentrification is. I definitely ran understanding that I am a voice for all residents, no matter what color you are, how old you are, how you look, or any of that. And I think all of us sitting up here, when we take an oath, we take an oath to, we take an oath to service everyone in the city of Dania Beach. So to say that you're concerned about development, we are too, but development is gonna happen with or without any of your, you know, consent. And it's what's happening. It's not development that the city of Dania Beach is doing. It's private developers. And yes, we do have a say-so, but the issues that you all are speaking on are 8 years too late, in lack of better terms. We are putting things, if you listen to this entire meeting, we have things that are in place, just like the housing programs, things to revitalize these neighborhoods, things to protect these homes, things to educate our neighbors and things like that. I mean, our residents and so forth. And so we do have the residents at the forefront of our minds at any point in time that we are discussing anything up here on this dais, and to think that we have anything less than that is an insult. Board Member Grace?
My coming back to the Dania Beach City Commission was because of what they were doing in the city of Dania Beach. The CRA had just came aboard, and they had some great ideas of what they wanted Dania Beach to look like. And when I walked into City Hall to pay my water bill and I saw all of the renderings there, I thought about not one thing, I thought about a lot of things. I thought about how it would impact my community and the city of Dania Beach. I also thought about the taxes, because we have, and if you look at it, Mr. Goldwire, we have been able to keep the taxes down for all of these years that I have been city. The last 8.5 years that I've sat here, the taxes have been low, the millage rate has been the same. When Dania Point came to us with their idea of what they wanted to build. There was a developer came before him, talked about warehouses. And we emphatically said we didn't want warehouses in our backyard. We wanted something that will be able to uplift and really attract people to come into Dania Beach. So when we talk about the Dania Point, I think about the almost 6,000 jobs, 3,000 of them in construction, another 3,500 when the project is finished, that are going to be able to reach out to Dania Beach residents for jobs. If they have jobs, that means that they're going to have an opportunity for home ownership. They're going to be able to pay their insurance. They're going to be able to buy groceries for their children. They're going to be able to send their children to nice schools. So I applaud you for coming before us, but I can tell you that as one commissioner sitting up here, that has always been my thought process, to make Dania Beach better, not to make it worse. And I think that's why we all run.
Vice Chair.
Getting back to your comment about that we don't know, I think about what that gentrification is, I think that's take a little bit of offense at that, because when I first got involved with city issues with Commissioner Grace, I think back in 2008, maybe 2009, so we're going back almost 10 years, and we were in the forefront of talking about when Dania Point came, even as a thought, because we didn't want the warehouses, and Mr. Shapiro, who's in the audience, brought forward the idea for a project that could benefit all with housing. And I think when you take into consideration that, according to the latest figures with the county, that 64 households a day are relocating to Broward County, and our population estimate at 1.9 million right now, and estimated to be 2.3 million in the next 5 years, that we're going to have some development for people to live and people to work, workforce housing. And we were at the Broward County Commission today. They're talking about affordable housing. And the affordable housing, yes, it's going to get more expensive because our recent property values just went up 7%. So your taxes are going to go up a few dollars. I think mine went up $136 or something like that based on the year, but my value went up. Our homes are our investment that, we take pride in, and, it's part of the American dream to own a home, and we want everybody that we can to get into a home, to own a home, to value their home, to value their neighborhood, to value their community, and keep everybody in their home so they have a sense of history and heritage in their community. So I think I'm a little offended by what you said, that we don't know what that is, because I think all of us clearly know what that is.
Somebody. Well, hold on. You got to speak from. No. Wait, no. Because we have a meeting. We have a meeting. We have another meeting to prepare for. I have you, Board Member Brandon Marty.
I gotta open eyes around here a little bit. You see the 5 of us? When we ran for office, we ran pro-development. And I'll tell you, if you run not for pro-development, you ain't never going to win. You ain't never going to win. Because people don't like things being stagnant. They want better for their families. They want better. Look at that guy right here in the front. He's wonderful. He's always fighting to preserve our history. So I'm not too worried about us losing anything with him in the audience. That's the way I feel about you.
Okay, so to close this meeting, now I guess everyone spoke. They said that they knew what it meant. But I just want to thank you all for supporting the housing program. I think we got a lot done today, and I'll see you all in 15 minutes. Meeting adjourned. Yeah, there are some informational items. You want to say something really fast? Okay, just look in your agenda. Meeting adjourned.